Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody here to our program tonight. We appreciate you being here. As we've been doing for quite some time, we're going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance and the nation's national anthem. Would everybody please rise?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome, straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Oh yeah! Come on, folks, let them know it.
United States Army Barbershop Quartet performing at the Barbershop Quartet Convention in 2015. We want to thank the host of the Barbershop Quartet Convention for giving us the nation's Pledge of Allegiance. We appreciate that very, very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. God bless you. God bless all of our servicemen and women, wherever you might be around the world. May you all return home in safety after your tours of duty end. And that goes for our allied forces. The ones who support the United States are all of our allies. May you all be blessed. Thank you for your service. May you all return home safely after your tours of duty end. God bless you all. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you all being here. We do this as a tribute to our country, to a tribute to everyone's country around the world. I wish we had time to play the national anthems of everyone that is part of this program. Unfortunately, we don't have time to do that. That's bad, I know. But, folks, one day we will do that. I have a good feeling that may happen as early as this summer, or sometime this summer. Anyway, folks, welcome to Emergency Management Associates. My name is Ron Tyler. I'm the host of this show. I'm the president of Emergency Management Associates. We appreciate you all being here tonight. We have a jam-packed show ready for you tonight. Folks, we have thought long and hard about what we would talk about tonight. One of the things that I want to talk about is this, okay? Justice for all. I want to play this for you, okay? I introduced this the other day. I'm going to play it again for you tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Folks, that was the January 6th choir singing from prison. They do this every night at 6 p.m. all the time until they are all released from prison. As I have said before, I've seen the tapes of January 6th. These people did nothing wrong other than being in the United States Capitol. The United States Capitol Police in many cases led these people around and showed them the Capitol. These people did nothing wrong other than take some selfies of themselves. It's quite unfortunate that our government is so stupid, and I'm going to say that again, so stupid, to jail these people. Yes, there was a contingent of Democrat socialists in this government that decided this was an insurrection. I don't believe that any longer. There was a part of me that did. I don't believe it after I've seen all the tapes. And yes, I've scrutinized a lot of the tapes, not just what Tucker Carlson showed on his show. I pray for God's blessings to be upon these men and the women who are in jail as a result of supporting our country. May God bless them as well. Thank you for your service, all of you. Now, something else that happened today. This is my tribute to the young people and their teachers that died yesterday in Nashville, Tennessee. This is a sad day in our history. Okay? Before I get started on this, though, I want to say happy birthday to Roxy. Roxy is one of our beautiful mods here, one of our mod squad here, and I want to say happy birthday to Roxy. So thank you, Roxy, for your service. Thank you for being part of our mod squad. Thank you for being part of our EMA family. Now, I posted Obama's picture here, President Obama's picture. Obama misrepresents today. He went on the air and said this. He also posted it on Twitter. Obama misrepresents the child death statistics to push for an anti-Second Amendment narrative. Former President Barack Obama decided to twist some statistics to make it seem like nugs are doing the killing. He said, we are failing our children. Nugs are now the leading cause of death for children in the United States. Oh, really? Really? Nugs are the leading cause of death for our children here in the United States. I tend to differ. I have even gone and checked into this. I have the statistics here for you tonight. Okay? Now, he said that children are dying via gunfire at the hand of a maniac is horrific. I think we can all agree on that. The one thing that I agree with him on that is that the person who did it was a maniac. A maniac. And yes, that is horrific. The latter part of that statement is the key, at the hand of a maniac. Sane people do not walk into a school to kill people, and guns do not fire themselves at the hand of a maniac. Sane people do not walk into schools to kill people. Nugs do not fire themselves. That is what is going on. The narrative that President Barack Obama put out is false narrative. Nugs are not the leading cause of death among children. That is plain wrong. The number is still way too high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down for all of you. There is no need to twist the facts to make a point. Now, there is an agency that they claim that is part of our government. It is not an agency. It is an organization. Okay? Let me point this out here. This organization right here. I cannot put the letters on here because we will get thrown off the air when we talk about it. But this agency right here, okay? This agency here released its 2022 numbers. The agency found that there were 4,368 children who died from gunshot violence in 2020. However, that statistics counts children 0 to 19, when the stats should be 0 to 17. 18 and above are adults. Now, why am I saying that? Why am I being so harsh in counting the 18 and 19 years old as adults? Because, folks, a large portion of people who do this are over the age of 18. Okay? Those people are sometimes gangbangers themselves. Okay? Yes, 18 and 19-year-olds do die. Many times it's in front of a car or in back of a wheel of a car. Okay? If we exclude the 18 and 19-year-olds, that number goes down to 2,281. Okay? Just over 50% of that first number. The car deaths, people who die in car accidents as children, is 2,503. 2,503 is the death toll in children from cars. Now, you can call me crazy, and that's just fine. But it was as though that agency kept going up in age until they found a number that worked to make nugs the #1 killer of children. Let me state that again. You can call me crazy, but that agency thought that they could keep going up in age number until they found a number that worked to make their narrative come out, that nugs are the #1 killer of children. Now, what I would like to know is how many of those were the result of intended gang violence. Last year, we reported on a bunch of children in Chicago, 14 of them, that died at the hands of gang violence in Chicago. Meaning, those children were part of the action, not an innocent bystander, although most of those children in Chicago that died at the hands of gangbangers were innocent bystanders. I would wager that the number goes down significantly more if you take out the gang violence. Other than the nug, what is the one thing that the majority of these shootings have in common? Let me give you that answer. It's called mental illness. And the Nashville shooting was more of the same. That young woman, 28 years old, didn't have to do what she did. Let's get our priorities straight here and now. Maybe, just maybe, we can fix this issue. Not just here on the show, but around our country. Then we can start to talk about banning cars, so we can get that statistic to come down even more. Now, in connection with this, for my part, having been a police officer, having been at a child daycare center where a violent young man tried to go in and kill the young children in that daycare center in San Diego. We stopped him. We did not have to fire one shot. We stopped him. Several of my partners were snipers, and they could have taken him out. But fortunately, we took him down without any more shots going off. And we saved every life in that daycare center, the children's and the teachers. But there was a spokeswoman for Democrat Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs today that made a call for gun violence against transphobes. Gun violence against transphobes. What does that mean? Gun violence against Christians and anyone that does not support the trans lifestyle, the LGBTQ movement. Okay? Most conservatives don't like trans people or LGBTQ people. I'm not that way. As long as they don't try to push their lifestyle on me, I have no problem. No, I probably would not hang out with a group of people from that group. I know some LGBTQ people, and for the most part, they're down to earth and level-headed. And yes, they are conservative too. But this woman thought, when she went to that church to attack those children and those administrators, she had one thing on her mind: that conservative people hated her, which was not the truth. Those children did nothing wrong. Innocent bystanders of mental illness. The Nashville shooter was fatally shot herself by police. She was identified as transgender. A theory from the left that the shooter may have acted out against Christians and conservatives for the stances against trans and LGBTQ lifestyles, as well as against recently enacted Tennessee law, which is banning drag shows outside the age-restricted venues. In other words, the Tennessee law banned drag shows in front of young children. And we all know that's happening. The Tennessee laws are banning drag shows outside age-restricted venues and banning puberty blockers, hormone treatments, and gender-related surgeries for children, and the Nashville shooter who was fatally shot by police is identified as a transgender. A theory from the left is that that person may have acted out against the Christians and conservatives. Okay? I don't know what the real reason is, and it doesn't matter at this time. 3 young children and 3 adults were killed at that Presbyterian church school. And for that, I stand up against people like that young woman. I don't care her lifestyle. I don't care at all. But what I do care about is saving people's lives, where people can live in harmony with each other and do things together. Not a divided lifestyle. Not doing things against what the Lord doesn't want us to be doing. For that, yes, I have a distinct difference. And if someone doesn't like that, I'm sorry. That's too bad. It's the person that I was raised to be. Now, I did this part of the presentation to honor those children who died yesterday, and those administrators, and to also honor all of those people who have died as a result of this kind of violence. It's unnerving. It's not necessary. Okay? I don't really care about Katie Hobbs. I don't care about her staffers. Okay? And honestly, I think she should be removed from office, because there's enough negative stuff against her that she should never have been appointed governor. Just my opinion. Let me talk about something else. On Monday, just south of the border, there was a building over in Mexico, near the border, housing people that were attempting to cross over into the United States legally. This was an immigration facility fire. That fire killed 39 people. It injured 29 people. A fire at this immigration facility in a Mexican border town Monday night left 39 migrants dead, 29 others injured. Mr. Ken Salazar from Colorado, who is the ambassador to Mexico, yesterday said, "We join the pain of the relatives of migrants who lost their lives and those injured in the fire in Ciudad Juarez, just south of Texas. It is a reminder to the governments of the region of the importance of fixing a broken migration system and the risks of irregular migration." Irregular migration. Folks, this also was not necessary. This also should never have happened, and I'm going to go into the reasons that it did happen. This is a very sad day. The migrants that were in this facility set off the blaze themselves. According to Mexico's President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, some detainees reportedly lit mattresses on fire in protest when they learned they were going to be deported. Lopez Obrador said at a press conference, quote, "They didn't imagine that it was going to cause this terrible tragedy." An image from the scene shows what appears to be a parking area with a line of bodies in bags. On the ground, laying next to each other, silver metallic looking sheets over each one of them. This is what I'm calling tragic. Nobody thought in their wildest imaginations that this could possibly happen. The photo shows what appears to be law enforcement or military officials dressed in fatigues, helmets, and other gear, some carrying long nugs, rifles. They don't want you to see this. Big Tech does its best to limit what news that you see. Ciudad Juarez is situated near the Rio Grande. It's roughly 8 miles southeast of El Paso, Texas. It is a major border crossing point for migrants of many nationalities seeking entrance into the United States. The Associated Press reported the Ciudad Juarez facility held 68 men from Central and South America. Many of those detainees may have been from Guatemala, according to an unnamed official. The National Migration Institute says Mexico's Immigration Regulatory Office in a statement that a complaint has been filed so the cause of the fire can be investigated. The Immigration Authority will promptly monitor the evolution of the health status of those who are hospitalized, and they will provide full support to the families of the victims. This was indeed a tragedy of epic proportions. Very much a tragedy, literally of epic proportions. 39 people died. 29 people lie in local hospitals there in Ciudad Juarez in serious to critical condition, with burns over most of their bodies. I don't think this is what anyone could have expected out of this situation. The Institute said in a statement acquired by the Texas Tribune, the National Institute of Migration strongly rejects the acts that led to this tragedy. Francisco Garduno Yanez, Mexico's National Immigration Commissioner, is visiting victims in local hospitals, including putting out photographs of some of the victims receiving treatment in the hospitals for their injuries. The fire is the most lethal fire in recent history in Mexico. Reuters contributed to the origination of this story, of which I appreciate them allowing us to give you this information. Now, if that were not all that's happened, and I'm sorry I didn't show you this last picture. It came out small. Okay, this is a picture of one of the victims being treated in that hospital. Okay? But if that wasn't all, a young man in his 20s was assaulted with a deadly weapon on Saturday. A member of Congressman Rand Paul's staff was badly stabbed over the weekend. Congressman Rand Paul's office said today, Rand Paul said this himself, I ask you to join Kelly and me in praying for a speedy and complete recovery and thanking the first responders, the hospital staff, the police, and paramedics for their diligent actions. We are relieved to hear that the suspect has been arrested. At this point, we would ask for privacy so everyone can focus on healing and recovery. As Congressman Paul mentioned, the Metropolitan Police Department released a statement on its own yesterday to announce that the arrest had been made in reference to the assault with intent to kill with a knife. The victim, a member of Congressman Ron Paul's staff, was stabbed in the head and the rest of the body. Started Saturday, March 25th in the 1300 block of 8th Street Northeast. At approximately 5:17 p.m., members of the 1st District were dispatched to the listed occasion for the report of a stabbing, according to the Metropolitan Police Department. Upon arrival, members located an adult male stabbing victim. The victim was transported to a local hospital for treatment of life-threatening injuries. The police added, on Saturday, March 25th, as a result of the detective's investigation, 42-year-old Glenn Neal of Southeast D.C. was arrested and charged with assault with intent to kill. The staffer, identified as member of Senator Rand Paul's Homeland Security Committee team. The Washington Post reported that after reviewing the senator's statement in conjunction with the police report and the charging documents, it had determined that the staffer, who will remain unnamed for now, was identified as a member of Senator Paul's team on the Senate Homeland Security Committee. That individual was stabbed multiple times and suffered life-threatening injuries, but now is listed as stable and is awaiting surgeries to repair a punctured lung and potential internal and brain bleeding. The Washington Post also noted that the staffer told the police in an interview from a hospital bed that he did not know the individual who stabbed him, nor why he had been violently assaulted with a knife. However, additional information has come out that would seem to suggest that the assailant had mental health issues. Do I need to repeat that? Mental health issues. As a charging document revealed that Neal told police following his arrest, a voice was telling him that someone was going to get him for all the things he had done. So, Neal was waiting right there to get to someone. Unquote. Senator Paul, who is no stranger to violent attacks, while there is as yet no indication that this violent attack was politically motivated, Senator Paul is unfortunately too familiar with partisan assaults, as he himself had been victimized in that regard multiple occasions in the past. In 2017, Senator Paul was attacked by his leftist neighbor while he was doing yard work. Senator Paul ultimately suffered 6 broken ribs, 3 displaced fractures that was further complicated by blood and fluid around his lungs and his persistent pneumonia during his recovery. Victim Philip Todd's parents said in a statement that he was in stable condition after the surgery and he is expected to make a full recovery due to his young age and good health. He was randomly and brutally attacked by a person with a knife, who, according to the police report, attempted to kill him. The intervention of our son's friend helped prevent the wounds from being fatal, according to Chuck and Helen Todd, the victim's parents. Philip Todd is the chief economist for Paul on the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, on which Paul seats as the ranking member. Philip Todd's leadership Connect profile lists him as having been with Paul's office since 2021. 2 years. 2 years. Again, violence is not the answer. The answer is getting people help. Getting people help. Friends and neighbors and loved ones here, I'm going to first talk about some earthquakes, and then we're going to talk further about New Madrid earthquakes today. I have got quite a report to give you about New Madrid. The first thing I want to talk about right now is something that's been on my mind for a while now. Okay? We've reported on earthquakes in Chile, Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Peru, Colombia, and Venezuela. Folks, before we go any further, because I'm afraid that this is going to happen again. Not afraid, but I'm concerned that we are going to get a major earthquake, not just to hit the United States, but down here in South America again. The last time it happened was 2014. It was an 8.4 magnitude earthquake in northern Chile, and this is near Iquique, I-Q-U-I-Q-U-E, Iquique, Chile, along the northern coast of Chile. It was an 8.4 earthquake. I now have a name of a person that was there when it happened, Jose Sandoval. He said, I lived my entire life in Iquique, Chile. Earthquakes are common for us here. In 2014, we got hit by the most powerful, violent earthquake in a long time, maybe in recorded history in the region. The earthquake was an 8.4 magnitude tremor. Although not as powerful as the Valdese one. Yes, it was a 9.0 Valdese earthquake. It made the ground roar. It roared so loud that I thought the earth was splitting in half. This happened and continued for over 2 minutes. After the earthquake, the ground continued to emit a deep sound like a volcano for maybe a month or more. The first days of that earthquake that was so loud that you could not even sleep in your home. Surely earthquakes are the scariest things in this world. Yes, they are. Last night we talked about earthquakes in Los Angeles, San Diego, and the Imperial Valley area in California, Southern California, and up into Central California for that matter as well. The first thing I want to do tonight, I want to talk to you about Yellowstone. I want to talk to you about Yellowstone. There have been over 24 tremors and minor and small earthquake that have hit the area of Yellowstone Lake in Yellowstone, Montana, Wyoming area. Okay? Part of Yellowstone sits over in Idaho. It's called Island Park. Island Park. That's part of the Yellowstone caldera. There are 3 separate distinct calderas in Yellowstone. Island Park is just one of them. This conversation will mainly dwell here at Yellowstone Lake. Yellowstone Lake is heating up. There's a reason. The magma from the volcano is this part is directly underneath the lake. Okay? Directly underneath the lake. Now, why are we talking about this? We've seen swarms of earthquakes hit here before. Now, the reason for these swarms is different from a tectonic event, a tectonic seismic event. This is completely different. This is magma down underneath that lake. Now, Given that, I want to show you something else. Down beneath that lake, there's what they call a dike. In this particular picture, you can see the almost V-shaped, upside down V-shaped dike in this rock, this rhyolite rock, rhyolite lava. You can see the dike. It's coming up from main magma chamber underneath in the crust of the earth, coming up in that volcanic chamber. Okay? It's literally trying to split the earth apart as it reaches to get outside the earth and turn into lava. Okay? That's what this dike is doing. And in just a minute, I'm going to explain even further about this. Everybody needs to know what's happening. Okay? Mary Greeley's reported on it before. She reported on it today. I want to explain what is going on so everybody understands. I've done quite a bit of research on this. Yes, some people say I'm an expert. That would get me in trouble. First, let me talk to you about earthquakes in Yellowstone. Earthquakes in Yellowstone are caused by magma, in this case underneath Lake Yellowstone. There is a dike that I've shown you here. This dike happened thousands of years ago because now it's above ground. But this dike is under the lake that I'm talking about. That is to say, there's an insertion of magma, like an upside down deep V underneath the lake, with magma pushing up from underneath the lake. The bottom of the lake is pushing up. The bottom of the lake bed is pushing up and down. It's like a breathing person's chest, rising up and down. It's happened before. Scientists have seen it. We've reported on this in the past years. Okay? Right now we're watching to see what happens with all these earthquakes. Probably nothing will happen, and this swarm of earthquakes will just go away, like has happened 2 or 3 times before in the last few years. But right now, there is enough hot rock sitting beneath Yellowstone National Park to fill the Grand Canyon nearly 14 times over. There is enough hot rock sitting beneath Yellowstone National Park to fill the Grand Canyon over 14 times. According to our best view yet of the supervolcano that lies below the famous landscape, the first digital image that's been had, it's a 3-dimensional image from 2015 of the inner workings of Yellowstone. Now I'm going to show you what that looks like. Oh, I'm sorry, that wasn't it. That wasn't it either. Okay, maybe I'm going to have to go back into my file here and pull it up for you. There it is. I found it. Okay, this is the dike underneath Yellowstone Lake. And in fact, scientists have now found 2 different and distinct magma chambers. The main one is deep within the earth underneath the other one, the one in red. Okay, 2 different magma chambers. I want to make sure that everybody understands. This is the first 3-dimensional image. They found it, or they put it together in 2015. Okay? This is the inner workings of the Yellowstone supervolcano It has revealed that 11,200 cubic mile magma reservoir about 28 miles beneath the surface. A previously known 2,500 cubic mile magma chamber sits above that. So the bottom one is over 11,200 cubic miles of magma. The one on top is 2,500 cubic miles of magma in that chamber. And that one is about 12 miles deep. Both of these chambers serve as conduits between a hotspot plume that may originate deep in the Earth's core and the Yellowstone caldera at the planet's surface. If we could better understand the transport properties of magmatic fluids, we would get a better understanding of the timing and therefore where we are in the volcanic cycle. Right now, we don't have that information. We do not know when this volcano is going to erupt. As I've said before, I do not believe that we're anywhere near a magmatic eruption of this volcano. That second magma chamber is still deep inside the Earth. Yes, the bottom of that lake is breathing. It's going up and down with the surge of magma. Yes, that bottom could drop out, and we could have a catastrophic eruption at Yellowstone Lake. The Yellowstone hotspot plume has been producing eruptions for the last 17 million years. Due to plate tectonics, the Earth's surface has moved over the hotspot, creating a track of ancient eruptions that stretches from the Oregon-Idaho Nevada border, the site of the first eruption of Yellowstone. Let me show you that slide. Right here. Okay? If you see the above grade area here, the grayish-brown area, that is the Columbia River basalts. That's where Yellowstone started out. As the Earth moved, as plate tectonics moved, it slipped further south. Okay? This is near the Idaho, Oregon, and Nevada borders. Then it moved into the place where it's at now. Okay? I hope everybody understands this. Okay, I've done a lot of research about this. The site of the first eruption was up over by Washington State. Okay? Since the hotspot reached Yellowstone some 2 million years ago, the supervolcano has erupted 3 times, most recently about 640,000 years ago. The hotspot currently feeds the geysers, hot springs, and the steam vents that are part of the draw of Yellowstone National Park. The only thing really preventing the eruptions is the eruptions of the geysers. The eruptions of the geysers and the boiling hot pots that are there, the mineral pots. The chance that the supervolcano will erupt anytime soon is low, only about 1 in 700,000% annually. 1 in 700,000 chance. But should there be another eruption, the supervolcano could spew some 640 cubic miles of debris. 640 cubic miles of debris, covering large swaths of North America in ash and darkening skies for days. Now, I should have put up another image that I don't have available right now this second. It's in my image files here about Yellowstone. Okay? If and when this volcano does go, the first immediate area that's going to be in a lot of trouble is around anybody that is around the epicenter of the eruption. Okay? We're talking about Idaho, Montana, Eastern Washington, Wyoming, Colorado, Idaho, down towards northern New Mexico. The second layer is much more spread out. Now we're into Canada, deep into Canada, British Columbia and Alberta, Canada. Then it stretches out to North and South Dakota, out to include the entire Washington state, Oregon, and California, and out even until northern Nevada, including Utah and parts of Nevada. Okay? That is the second level. The third one includes all of Southern California, all of Nevada, all of Arizona, going out in to cover New Mexico, part of Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, even out to Minnesota and Michigan. All those states that I just mentioned will get the ash and hot gases. The further out you are, the better off you're going to be. Okay? Like I said, the debris from this volcano will cover swaths of North America in ash, large swaths in ash and darkening skies for days. Yellowstone caldera is an enormous crater in the western central portion of Yellowstone National Park. That's in northwest Wyoming, and parts of Montana. That was formed by a cataclysmic volcanic eruption some 640,000 years ago. It measures approximately 30 by 45 miles, 50 to 70 kilometers, covering a large area of the park. The Yellowstone hotspot, the source of heat that powers Yellowstone's vast volcanic system, has long been thought to have been initiated 17 million years ago. A growing volume of evidence, however, suggests that it has been around much longer than that. Yellowstone National Park is situated over a supervolcano that is capable of an eruption magnitude of 8. Not of 7, but of 8, VIE. It has had 3 massive eruptions, all of which created calderas. The first eruption occurred 2.1 million years ago, and the second 800,000 years ago. The Yellowstone caldera is the youngest of the 3 craters, the 3 calderas. It is the largest. Its notable features include Yellowstone Lake, the northern portion of which is located in the caldera's southeastern area. The West Thumb, which is formed by a relatively small eruption in the caldera some 150,000 years ago. Let me back off this. Okay, this is the Yellowstone Lake that shows the biggest of the earthquakes today being a 3.1 magnitude earthquake. Actually, I'm sorry, this was on the 3rd. No, it was on the 29th. I'm sorry, this was the 29th. This was today. March 3rd today. A 3.1 earthquake. There were quite a few, I believe 7 2.7s. Quite a few 2.1s and quite a few 1s, which are tremors. 1.2, 1.7, 1.5, etc. All those are tremors. The 2s, 2.0, 2.9 are minor earthquakes. This 3.1 is a small-sided earthquake. Small because it's on the small end of the 3s. 3.0 to 3.9 are considered to be small earthquakes. This is among those small earthquakes. Okay? Now let me try to find Yellowstone Lake here again. I thought I had it. Well, maybe I don't. Hold on, I'll get it. I'll pull it up here for you. Okay, let's go up here. This is Yellowstone. Let's go up and see this lake here. This is Lake Yellowstone where all these earthquakes happened. Over here on the left side of the lake, this is called West Thumb. That is called West Thumb. The reason they call it West Thumb is the overall shape of the lake looks like a human being. The two bottom parts of the leg, or the legs of the body, those are the, what do they call it? The forks. One is the West Fork and the other one is the East Fork of Yellowstone Lake. Okay? West Thumb is up to the left-hand side here of your screen. Okay? The West Thumb was formed by a relatively small eruption in the caldera about 150,000 years ago. It's a noblike, K-N-O-B-L-I-K-E, a noblike protrusion on the lake's western side. The two resurgent magma domes, one just north of that and the other just west of Yellowstone Lake, have been forming in the caldera, and the western dome underlies many of the park's best known hydrothermal features. Yellowstone Lake is fed by some 6 dozen streams and rivers, including the Yellowstone River, which flows into the lake in the southeast and drains it at the northern end. About 20 miles, 32 kilometers long, and 14 miles, 23 kilometers wide at its greatest length. The lake has a surface area of 132 square miles, 342 square kilometers, and a shoreline of 141 miles, 227 kilometers long. An average depth of 140 feet, 43 meters, and a maximum depth variously given as 390 or 410 feet, 119 or 125 meters deep. Although hot water is now known to flow into the lake from vents located at places along the bottom, an old lava dike above a stream in Yellowstone National Park. If magma rises towards the surface and flows in vertical fissures, later cooling and hardening, dikes are formed, just like that dike I showed you a few minutes ago. The lower part of the formation could be a sill connected to the dike. Let me bring up that picture again. I really want you to understand what we're seeing here. This is important. I'm sorry, that's not it. There it is. That's a lava dike. Okay? I'll go over this just again for a second so you know what we're talking about. The magma rises toward the surface and flows into vertical fissures. Okay? Dikes are formed. Okay? Dikes are formed in the form of V, just like this. Okay? Just like you're seeing there. The lower part of the formation could be a sill which is connected to the dike. A sill is formed by intrusion of molten rock along bedding plains. Recent erosion has exposed this dike and the sill features. Yellowstone sits above a melting anomaly within the earth. It's called a hot spot. When we talked about the Canary Island eruption last year, okay, it started the year before that, in 2021. But it started in September 21 and continued till last, I believe it was May or April when it stopped. Okay? Now, They had a hot spot there, right? We talked about that. That hot spot that was underneath that volcano caused that volcano to erupt. The hot spot is continuously moving as a tectonic plate shifts. That's why all of the islands in the Canary Islands have different islands there. All the islands are positioned where a volcano erupted. We just got through explaining that the Yellowstone volcano started over in Washington State, drifted southeast over to the Idaho-Nevada border area, Oregon border area, and then it moved northeast up to where it is now. Okay? The hot spot moved due to tectonic plate action. The hot spot is powered by a plume of hot but not molten material that may extend as deep as the boundary between the planet's mantle and the core, the asthenosphere. As hot material rises buoyantly means it's rising, okay? It decompresses and melts near the surface, generating magma that feeds the magma chambers beneath Yellowstone and provides the heat that powers the many geysers and hot springs. Okay, that's what is happening at Yellowstone. I wanted everybody to understand what we're talking about. Okay, there was a lot of talk the last few years that, oh, Yellowstone's going to erupt any minute. It's not. It's not. If Yellowstone Lake was to erupt, it would be a catastrophic eruption. Why? Because even though that water is now heated up, it's still cooler than the magma beneath it. So it would be a blast that everyone would see, everyone would know about it, and it would spread hundreds of miles in every direction. Okay? Just so you know. Again, the bottom of the lake is moving up and down just like this. It's like breathing because the magma is pounding underneath the lake. That magma dike beneath it is going up and down, just like magma does inside a regular volcano that we talked about at Glacier Peak or Rainier or Helens or Hood or any of the other volcanoes. In this case, that dike is trying to make its way up to the surface. In this case, the surface is the bottom of the lake, a massive lake that we just shown you. So that's what's going on. Over 24 earthquakes, small in nature, minor in nature, but 24 earthquakes have hit that area at Yellowstone Lake. And that's not the only place. It's not the only place. Okay, let me show you some. I think it's this image here. Okay, it's hit here. Okay, it's also hit over in Hebgen Lake. I thought I had a picture of Hebgen Lake. Yes, I do, right here. This is Hebgen Lake off to the left. You see this 1.8 tremor that I've highlighted here? Okay, that is off to the northeast side of Hebgen Lake. But there are some tremors over on the western side of Hebgen Lake as well. In 1959, there was a 7.1 plus earthquake that hit Hebgen Lake. It was tectonic in nature. It was tectonic in nature. It had nothing to do with the volcano. I want to make that clear. It is possible that we can get a tectonic plate earthquake in and around Yellowstone without having the volcano erupt. Okay, I want to make that clear. We can get a catastrophic earthquake without having the volcano erupt. It happened in 1959. Okay, what they originally thought was a 7.1, now they're saying it was probably a lot worse, a lot bigger earthquake. Okay, Does anybody have any questions about anything that I've talked about so far? Okay, we want to make sure that we've answered everybody's questions. Okay? We have 95 thumbs up, which I greatly appreciate. Thank you so much. We now have 685 subscribers. I greatly appreciate that. We have 156 people watching us, which I greatly appreciate as well. I would love to get that number to 300. Boy, what I would love to get that number to 300. The more people that are here, the more people that have a chance of hearing our message. Why are we talking about these events? Why? Because things are happening and people's lives are in danger. That's why we're talking about everything we do. We want to make sure that everybody understands that. I want to make sure everybody understands this. Okay? Now, let me talk about New Madrid. Okay? We're now into an hour of the program. I'm now starting to talk about New Madrid. I'm going to go alphabetically by state. I'm going to start with Arkansas. Okay? Northeastern Arkansas and Missouri, the entire state of Missouri, is a central area of New Madrid. Northeastern Arkansas and Missouri are the center part of the New Madrid Fault. Okay? It goes north up to the Great Lakes. It goes south down to the Gulf of Mexico. It goes west all the way through Arkansas over towards eastern Texas. It goes east over to Tennessee. Okay? It goes east over to Tennessee, Kentucky, and I would even say Alabama. We see earthquakes all the time in Alabama. Okay? And it also goes northeast on the western part of the Continental Divide. Okay? It goes that way. The first thing I want to do is talk about Arkansas. This is Catfish Pond, Arkansas. Why am I showing you this? Usually, Catfish, Arkansas has nothing to show. Very little, if any, movement, tectonically plate speaking. No real earthquakes at all. Mostly tremors. Let's look at early this morning. Okay? The top of these seismograms that I'm going to show you tonight is midnight last night, 12:01 a.m. this morning. Okay? Notice up at the top, we have a tiny black line. There's a little tiny bit of movement there. Those are microquakes. Nothing more, nothing less. Microquakes. What really comes into existence here happened after 1:30 a.m. this morning. About 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes after 1:30, which is 1:35 a.m. this morning. There just happens to be a 2.1, 2.2 earthquake this morning. And after that, you see the tiny, tiny body wave here going out to the right. This body wave lasted about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes. There was a tiny, tiny secondary wave. The primary wave was about a 2.1, 2.2 earthquake. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay? Then, after 2:30, after 2:34 this morning, there was a bunch of tremors you can see here. And we had tremors off and on that 2:30 line and the green line after that over to the right. Okay? This would have been 2:58, 2:57, 2:58 this morning. Just tiny, tiny microquakes and possibly one tremor, 1.0 tremor. Okay? Then we had a bunch of microquakes here, didn't we? Okay? Until after 7:30 a.m. this morning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? About 5 minutes after, at 7:35 a.m. this morning, we had some tiny tremors. Just a little more than microquakes start happening. At 7:36, the tremors got a little bit larger. Then they got a bit larger at 7:37. All it turned out to be is like a 1.5 tremor. But that same tremor lasted for 60 seconds. It lasted for 60 seconds. Okay? Then, after 7:48 this morning, we had some tiny tremors, 1.0 tremors. Again, those lasted nearly 2 minutes. Then the seismic energy died off until 8:57 this morning. At 8:57, just after 8:57, we had some 1.2, 1.3 tremors, and it built up to be about 1.3, 1.4 tremors. Okay? Still tiny. Still tiny. Then 9 o'clock rolled around. Just after 9 a.m., we still had some small tremors. Then, after 9:05, those tremors build up to 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 tremors, possibly even 1.5 at the highest. Then that died off, and we had an occasional tremor after that. Okay? Then, on the blue line below that, okay, over on the left-hand side, this blue line would be 9:30 a.m. this morning. Over on the right, this would be 9:29 a.m. this morning. Either that is a 1.8 tremor or a 2.0 earthquake. A 1.8, 1.9 tremor or a 2.0 earthquake on the right-hand side blue line there. Then we move down even further. We have some on-again, off-again tremors. Okay? This is until 10:47 this morning. Just after 10:47, we have another one of those 1.7, 1.8 tremors again. We had some small tremor buildup and some small tremor secondary release. Then after that, for about 4 minutes, we had some more minor tremor activity. Then, below that line in the red, which is 11:15 on the left-hand side, you just see some microquake activity beginning until we get to the middle of that line. All of a sudden, this is 10:25 a.m. this morning. You see a bunch of tremors, don't you, going up here to the right. It gets to be about 1.5 and then dies off again. Then we got tremors over here on the left-hand side on the blue line. 10:30 a.m. this morning. Then over on the right-hand side. Okay? Now we are at 11:28, 11:29 this morning. Look at those tiny tremors. It builds up to the green line on the left again. Now, over here on the left, we have 11:45. Okay? Yes, we have some 1.5s, maybe even a 1.6 tremor. Then it dies off. Okay? This is Catfish Pond, Arkansas. Wonderful place. I would love to catch some catfish on Catfish Pond. That would be a blast. Looking at this afternoon's summary of earthquakes on this seismogram. Look again here. The top line is 12 noon today on the black line. The next red line is the 12:15 line this afternoon. All the way over here at about 12:20, we still have some mid-range 1 tremors. 1.5 tremors here. These last for about a minute. Before it, we have minor tremors. After it, we have a secondary wave tremor. Down here on the 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock line, black line, we have a bunch of tremors here, don't we? And tremors off and on, till, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This would be 2:46. No, 2:51 p.m. this afternoon. We have the buildup of tremors again. 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 tremors for about a minute. The tremors continue for another 20 seconds. Then we have a 2.2, 2.5 magnitude earthquake. Look at that single line going up and down there. We have a 2.5, 2.6 magnitude earthquake, a minor earthquake. Then after that, we have some minor tremor secondary wave. Okay? This happened at Catfish Pond, Arkansas. Why am I placing so much credence in Arkansas today? That is just one example of what has happened in Arkansas. Let's go over to Dell, Arkansas right here. Dell, Arkansas. Nothing happened until earlier this morning, just after 7:20 a.m. this morning. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This happened just after 7:21 a.m. this morning. We had a buildup at 7:19:20. 7:19 a.m., 7:20 a.m. this morning. Just tiny tremors building up. 1.0. Okay? After 7:21 is when it started building up really good. 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. Then all of a sudden we had another earthquake here. This is at least a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake here. Nearly a full 3.0 earthquake. Then we have a secondary wave. This secondary wave lasted almost a full 2 minutes later. Almost a full 2 minutes later. Then we have a body wave after that. Okay? Look at these tremors here. We have an earthquake here at Dell, Arkansas. I have not seen an earthquake at Dell, Arkansas in the 3 years that I've been looking at the new Madrid. Before that, anything that happened on the new Madrid was just barely a 1.0 tremor. That's all that happened before 3 years ago. Just tiny tremors, that was it. 1.2, 1.3 tremors, up and down the entire fault line. It's taken 3 years now to get any meaningful earthquakes, any reportable earthquakes here on the New Madrid Fault. Now I'm going to move through here pretty quickly because now we're going to be getting into some real earthquakes here on the New Madrid Fault. This one, folks, is Manila, Arkansas. Manila, Arkansas. Look what happened there this afternoon. Okay? All we had was tiny, tiny tremors until after 2 p.m. today. 1400 hours on the left-hand side, that's 2 p.m. After 2:15, these tremors turned into larger tremors. 1.5, 1.6 tremors here. Then it subsided. It went further over to the right-hand side and did the same thing again. Just before 2:30. About 1:27, 1:28, we had some 1.6 tremors again. Okay? Then it was quiet until after 3 p.m. today. Again, about, I want to say 3:04 p.m. this afternoon on this red line. You see a buildup of seismic energy. Okay? I want to tell you that about 3:20 this afternoon, maybe 3:18 this afternoon, we may have had a 2.0 earthquake. Then 2 minutes later, we may have had a 3.0 earthquake. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this would be between 3:20 and 3:21 p.m. this afternoon. A 2.0 earthquake. Then this red line continues, and all we have, I believe, is just tremors. Then we pull over here to the left-hand side on the blue line. Now it's 3:30 p.m. We still have a bunch of tremors, don't we? But all of a sudden, at 3:31, the tremors start gaining energy. Here we have at least a 2.0, 2.5 earthquake. Minor earthquakes. This activity lasts for about a minute and a half. Okay, about 90 seconds. Then it calms down, but even then, the rest of the afternoon until I pulled this seismo at just after 4:40 p.m. this afternoon, we still had good sized tremors, 1.5, 1.6 tremors all over. Okay? This location here, Manila, South Arkansas, got hit by at least a 2.0, 2.4 magnitude earthquake this afternoon. Now, that's just a minor earthquake. Probably nobody felt it. This is the buildup of seismic energy. The buildup of seismic energy. That was Manila South this afternoon. Let me show you Manila South this morning. Look what happened here. Okay? On the green line over here to the right. This is at about 8:55 a.m. this morning. Now we're pushing a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake, just below a 3. On the black line after that, it looks like we had some seismic activity, some minor tremors, but almost the same time as 15 minutes before, on the black line, we had another 2.5 earthquake. We had one at 8:40 or 8:55 this morning, and approximately 9, what would this be, at 9:10, 9:11 this morning, another 2.5. And then down below that on the red line here, this is 9:15. All we're getting is tremors, pretty good sized tremors. Okay? Again, the tremors and minor earthquakes are probably not even felt. But the seismic energy has already made itself known. It may have not been felt, but it's there. These are reportable earthquakes. Then we move down to 9:30 on the blue line. Look at the seismic buildup here. It's not just 1.5, 1.8 tremors, 1.9 tremors, but just after 9:30 7:31 a.m. this morning, now we had a 2.4, 2.5 earthquake here. Then after that, we have a bunch of tremors, don't we? That lasts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes later. 6 minutes after that first earthquake. Then we have close to a 3.0 earthquake. 2.8, 2.9, maybe a 3.0 earthquake. This is South Manila, Arkansas. We have not seen this kind of seismic activity at South Manila ever. I've been looking at seismograms for a very long time. As I stated before, I go over probably about 150 plus seismograms a day. A day. Why do I look at so many? I want to make sure that the information is correct before I put it out on the air. I save that information to show all of you. Okay? This is real. This is very real. What I'm going to show you next is even stronger. Lisa, I'm glad you're here. Lisa Spencer joined us here in the chat. I'm glad she found us. Lisa, please stay with us on the New Madrid fault. We're talking about the New Madrid fault, guys. We're talking about the New Madrid fault. Please play along with us here. Yes, I know what you're talking about affects all the faults. But please stay here with us. We're talking about the New Madrid here. Okay? So now I showed you Manila South both this morning and this afternoon. Now, I'm going to go over to another fault. Okay? Just east, and not another fault. I'm just going to go west from Jonesboro, Arkansas. Further west from Jonesboro, Arkansas, I'm going to a place called Needham. Needham, Arkansas is just west of Jonesboro. Okay? This, folks, happened this afternoon. This morning, absolutely nothing happened at Needham, Arkansas. Again, this is maybe 10 or 15 miles west of Jonesboro. This earthquake may have been felt. Okay? This happened at 12 noon today. 12 noon today. This was at least a 3.1, 3.2 magnitude earthquake here in Needham, Arkansas, west of Jonesboro. West of Jonesboro. That is the largest earthquake that we have seen here at Needham. And I monitor these all week long. I check this stuff off and on all week long until we get to the day where we talk specifically about New Madrid. Then I go over every earthquake, every seismogram, to be able to show you what is going on the New Madrid fault. This is the center of the New Madrid fault. This is just west of the center of the New Madrid fault. It's no wonder that we have a 3.0, maybe even a 3.1 earthquake here. It's no small wonder at all. Then if we go east, we run into Jonesboro. However, there is no seismograph in Jonesboro. We have to further go east to a place called Marked Tree, Arkansas. Marked Tree, Arkansas. What I'm going to show you here is almost unnerving. It's almost unnerving. The top of this seismogram starts off at midnight this past night, early this morning. Early this morning, we're having some 1.0 tremors here. Those 1.0 tremors started about 3 minutes after midnight. Just tiny tremors. Then those died off to nothing more than microquakes. That happened after 12:15. It continued like that. It continued till 12:31. At 12:31, we have a buildup in seismic energy. 12:32, we continue having a buildup of seismic energy. At 12:33, it builds up to 1.2, 1.3 tremors. This continues for a minute and a half. Then it dies off. Then we have intermittent tremors until 1:15 this morning. On that red line on the left-hand side, it starts building up until 1:16 this morning. It continues to build up after that. 1.3, 1.4 tremors, 1.5 tremors, until we get to about 2 minutes later, and now we're at 1.6, 1.8 tremors. Then it dies off over another 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Then on the black line beneath that, okay, what do we see here? Actually, over on the right-hand side. I'm sorry, on the green line to the right. Okay, this green line would be 1:57, 1:58 a.m. this morning. Tremors again. On the black line, these tremors get to be 1.3, 1.4 tremors. Then they die off. But we have 1.3, 1.4 tremors for nearly 2.5 minutes until they die off. What happens after 2:45 a.m. this morning? Over here on the right-hand side, we are at 2:54 a.m. this morning. The tremors build and build and build. This time we have at least 2.2, 2.4, even 2.5 earthquakes. Minor earthquakes. Look how long this sequence took. Both the tremors and the earthquakes. Now we're talking 4 minutes of tremors and earthquakes. It builds up to earthquake status, 2.0 to 2.4, 2.5. Then it dies off into tremors again, doesn't it? Okay? Then on the green line here to the left, it happens again. This time after 3:46, it builds up and builds up. Okay? First we have 1.8 tremors, then it builds into a 2.2 earthquake, and then about 45 seconds later, now we have a 2.2, 2.3 earthquake, and that continues for a few seconds, and then it dies off into tremors again. But it takes 2 minutes to die the tremors off. Okay? Then, what happens after that? On this red line here, now we're after 4 a.m. here. This red line is 4:27, 4:28 a.m. this morning. Again, we have tremors building up to 2.0 earthquakes. Okay? Then on this black line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, after 6 a.m. this morning, 6:04 a.m. this morning. The tremors start building at 6 on the black line on the left, then all of a sudden, 3 minutes later, now we are at a point where this is at least a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. But we have to look at this seismic signature. The top and the bottom have both been cut off. This is more like a mid-range 3. a mid-range 3.0. Now I have called over to my cronies, people that know me where I've done disaster drills over there in Little Rock, and I've spoken to the geologists, I've spoken to the emergency management people there, and guess what? They concur. This was probably a mid-range 3.0 earthquake. A 3.0 earthquake at least over here in Mark Tree, Arkansas today. This is north of Little Rock, just northwest of Little Rock. Okay, a 3.0 earthquake, and it wasn't the only one here. Look over to the right on the blue line there. Okay, now we're talking about 4:42, 4:43 a.m. this morning. Again, it goes into tremors, then over into a full-blown earthquake. The blue goes over here to the right, and we have at least a 2.5 earthquake. Then we come over here to the left on the green line, and guess what? We have at least a 2.8 earthquake there, at least. Then it dies off slowly. That turns into a 2.0 earthquake, and then it dies off into tremors. Okay? After that, we have a bunch of tremors and just 2.0 earthquakes. Until we get down to 10:29 a.m. this morning on the red line to the right. Okay? Then it turns into 10:30 a.m. on the left-hand side on the blue line. Again, we're into 1.5, 1.6 tremors that build up within a minute and a half to a full-blown 2.4, 2.5 earthquake, and this gets larger. It gets larger into 2.8, 2.9 before it's all said and done. Okay, this is just before 10:34, 10:35 this morning. You see what I'm talking about? Here, right here at Mark Tree, we've had upwards of 3.0 earthquakes here and larger. Okay, that black one there was probably a 3.5 or larger earthquake. We're not done yet. This is Mark Tree this afternoon. The seismic energy level went down. Okay, this morning's seismogram looked exactly like several of the seismograms that we looked at last night. One at Bombay Beach over there in the Imperial County, California. Another one, where was that at? Does anybody remember where that was at? Playa del Rey? No, it wasn't either. It was Walnut La Puente. Walnut La Puente. We saw this same thing happen there. Now this afternoon, all we're seeing is no more than 2.3, 2.4 earthquakes just after 12, 16, 17 p.m. this afternoon. Then at the most, at 2:04, 2:05 this afternoon, at the most, we may have had a 1.5 tremor, which lasts about 20 seconds before it diminishes. Down here on this green line, after 2:30, some of these approach 1.5, 1.6 tremors. But it's all over, and this tremor sequence lasts for about 10 minutes. You see what I'm talking about? These tremor sequences and earthquake sequences lasting a long period of time. A long period of time. Let's drop south into Truman, Arkansas. Look what happens in Truman, Arkansas, almost directly south of Mark Tree. The same kind of seismic energy. It starts off with small tremors. Long sequenced small tremors. Up there at 1 o'clock this morning, about 1:03 this morning, it starts building. Gets no more than 1.3, maybe 1.4 tremors. But look how long this tremor sequence lasts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes long. 6-minute long tremor series. Look at some of these other tremor series here. Okay? This one after 3 a.m. this morning. About 3:10 a.m. this morning. About 3:09 this morning. Just small tremors. This one lasted another 6 minutes. 6 minutes. It didn't fully die off until about 7 minutes after that. Okay? After it started. Then the next one starts, okay? Now we're over here on the green line here. The green line to the right. That tremor sequence lasted almost 5 minutes. Okay? We continue over here on the black line. Okay? That black line was at 4 a.m. this morning. Okay? Then over here on the far right on the black line. Okay? It starts again, doesn't it? Then at 4:15 on the red line, it continues. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes here. 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes here. 9 full minutes of seismic activity, building and diminishing. What happens? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What happens after 5:45 this morning? Again, this time the sequence goes from minor tremors all the way up to like a 2.5, 2.6 earthquake, which lasts for about 20 seconds. Look at that green earthquake there. What happens after that? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6:30 a.m. this morning. Look at that sequence. Look at the tremors building there. This is incredible. The building up of seismic energy. This is happening on the New Madrid Fault. What is going on? What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'll tell you. I don't think we have enough time to talk about the East Coast. We have East Coast earthquakes. Why? The Atlantic plate. Let me move this seismogram over here. The Atlantic plate is pushing the North American plate in a south-southwesterly direction. It's putting increased pressure on the New Madrid Fault. And then on the west coast, what do we have happening? We have a huge subduction area of the Pacific plate subducting under the North American plate, which is creating even more energy, more force going east. So we have the East Coast pushing to the southwest, and we have the West Coast pushing almost directly south. I mean east, almost directly east. Both of those areas are cramping the New Madrid Fault style. It's no wonder that we have these larger quakes at the center of the New Madrid Fault. It's no small wonder that we're having these quakes at the center of the New Madrid Fault. Okay? This was Truman, Arkansas this morning. Let me show you this afternoon. The seismic activity here is less strong, that is, but it's still there. Let's go further south to Tyronza, Arkansas. All these three towns are almost directly in line north to south. Let's look at Tyronza, Arkansas, right here. In this case, this is just a bit different. Okay? The seismic energy is hitting in the form of earthquakes and tremors, separate and distinct. Up at the top right, the left-hand side at the top on the black line is midnight. Over here on this side on the right, this is 12:29 a.m. this morning. This is a full-blown 2.5 earthquake. 2.5 earthquake here in Tyronza, Arkansas this morning. Early this morning. Then we drop down to after 4 a.m. Actually, after 4:05 a.m. this morning. This time, this is a 2.3, 2.4 earthquake. Okay? You see these other tremor sequences here as well. We're seeing 2.0, we're seeing 2.4, 2.5 earthquakes. Then, I want to show you something else here. Okay? We're going down here to just after 10 a.m. this morning. About 10:04, 10:05 a.m. this morning on the black line. This time, folks, this is close to a 3.0 earthquake. This is very close to a 3.0 earthquake. After that, we have tremors and 2.0 earthquakes, off and on the rest of the morning for the next 2 hours. This is the kind of activity we're having in the center of the New Madrid Fault. Now, I'm going to show you this afternoon's here at Tyronza. Look at this. The seismic energy continued this afternoon. There is no huge long buildup and no after. It's not lasting a long time after the main shocks are done, like we've had at the other towns. This is a little bit different. This is further south. The energy seems to be dwindling as we go south. Okay? Let's drop south to Louisiana. I want to show you what happens in Louisiana before we get too more involved in this. Okay? Let's go over here and show you Pioneer, Louisiana. Okay? Here at Pioneer, Louisiana, it was dead quiet most of the morning. Only about 10 a.m. this morning did we see any large buildup of tremors. And in this case, the same kind of tremor sequence that we saw over at Mark Tree and even Tyronza to some extent. The tremors build up for 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes, and then it takes about a minute and a half before it goes out. Okay? Long tremor sequences. How would you like to be in a 5 or 6 magnitude earthquake and have it last for 5 minutes? No, nobody felt these minor tremors. Nobody felt them. But I'm trying to give you a good idea of what has happened here. This is serious. This is only going to get more serious as the time goes on. We've seen a marked increase in seismic activity here on the New Madrid Fault. I told you 2 to 3 years ago that as this increased, we would report it. But nobody else is talking. USGS is not talking, and we got no reply from a telephone call that I made earlier to the University of Tennessee at Memphis. They didn't reply. I called them at noon when I first started seeing the sequences. I know people are there, but a secretary didn't even answer the phone. Nobody did. I'm going to try again tomorrow and find out why nobody is reporting this information, because people are truly feeling it. I know that people are feeling it there. I made other telephone calls to people that I know in this area. People are actually feeling this seismic energy. The small quakes. They're feeling it. They're feeling the shaking beneath their feet. This is not major activity, but it is building. It is building. It's not going to be too much time before we are seeing moderate 4.0 plus earthquakes. We're already seeing 3s, mid-range 3s. Okay, pretty soon it's going to be 4s as well. Moderate 4.0s, 4.5s. And after that, 5.0 large earthquakes here on the New Madrid. It's coming. It's coming, ladies and gentlemen. I guarantee you it's coming. Okay, this is Pioneer, Louisiana this morning. Okay, what do you say about that? What do you say about that? Would you like to see this afternoon's? Look at this. Again, this is a huge increase in seismic activity down here in the southern part of Louisiana. Look at this. This is incredible. I have never seen this in Pioneer, Louisiana since I've been reporting on the New Madrid fault. Never. Let's look over here to the right after 2:15 this afternoon. On the same red line here. It's 2:15 on the left-hand side. Over here, now we are talking about 2:27, 2:28 this afternoon. Even 2:26, I'll take that back. It starts out at 2:26, and prior to 2:26, we have seismic energy buildup, tremors building into a main earthquake. In this case, folks, the top and the bottom of this seismic sequence in red has been cut off. So we know that that seismic energy is even larger than what it shows. Probably a 3.5 earthquake. A 3.5 earthquake. Look how many earthquakes. Look at that first sequence there at 2:26. That lasts about 20 seconds. The ground shakes for 20 seconds. Then a minute later, it shakes again. This time for about 5 seconds. Then a minute later, it shakes again for another 3 or 4 seconds. Then within 20 seconds after that, it shakes for the final time. This time, again, I believe this is probably a 3.5 magnitude earthquake. Several 3.5 magnitude earthquakes spread over a 3-minute time period. Okay? Guess what? My friends down there that I made after Hurricane Katrina verified that this happened. All of these earthquakes happened. Let's look at 2:30 this afternoon. Let's go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 2:35 this afternoon. We have a tremor buildup. Then, within 30 seconds after that, another quake, another primary quake. The tops and the bottom here is also cut off. This is probably also a 3.5 earthquake. Okay? Now, look at each line here. Each line here represents a separate and distinct quake. Back to back to back. Hammering. Okay? Boom, 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 boom. Literally happening that quick. You're seeing it here. You're seeing it diagrammed out. Okay? This sequence started and lasted almost a full minute. Then it died off for about another minute, and then it started in again. This time the sequence lasted about 20 seconds, calmed down for a few seconds, and got started again, and this last time lasted maybe 4 seconds. Interesting, huh? Then we kept having smaller quakes, smaller, maybe 2.5 earthquakes on this green line here. This green line here over on the left-hand side is 245. Over on this side now, we're talking about 2:54 p.m. this afternoon. This time here, this is probably a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. Less than it was earlier, a minor earthquake, while the other threes were small. This is a minor quake. Probably didn't even get felt. Then we drop over here to the left-hand side on the black line. It happens again. This time a 2.8, 2.9 again. Then it diminishes into nothing more than tremors, but look at the tremor sequence here. Tiny tremors going on for almost a full 15 minutes here. Then it goes down to the red line below that, and look at the tremor sequences there. Tiny tremors, but it lasts a long time, doesn't it? These tremor sequences are lasting a half hour or more. Do you see what I'm saying? The seismic energy is continuing. It does not stop. Does everybody see this, or is it just me? Okay? Amy Jo's asking, do you think a big event on New Madrid will affect southern Minnesota? Yes. Yes, it would. If we're talking about a 7.0 to an 8.0 earthquake happening, the western United States is going to feel it, and the eastern United States is going to feel it. The last time it happened, church bells in Washington, D.C. pealed. It rattled the church bells in Washington, D.C. Okay? It's going to do a lot of damage. This time there's no more horse and buggies here. If there's horse and buggies, it's because they're antiques. Nobody's going to be able to go anywhere. The roads are going to be opened up. They're going to be destroyed. There's not going to be any fire trucks rushing in to put out the fires caused by gas lines snapping or other causes of fires. That's going to happen. The fire departments are not going to have large supplies of water, as the water pipelines are also broken. They may have water on their trucks to start with. The only way they're going to put out the fires is via helicopter or airplane drops, just like wildfires. This is not going to be pretty. Transportation to hospitals, good luck. They're going to have to do triage in the middle of streets, in the middle of people's yards. They're going to have to set up hospitals at churches, places to stay, safe places at churches, not just Catholic or Baptist either. Every church that's got a church building there will be used, if it's still standing. Okay? This is real. You see it here. This is the worst that I've seen it. This is the largest sequence I've seen. Okay? Muskrat. Menacing muskrat is asking a question. Is this caused by a 5-planet alignment and the full moon and the binary system? Probably yes. And it's not just that. It's just not the full moon. It's just not a 5-planet alignment. What else do we have going on? We've had multiple CMEs, multiple coronal mass ejections from the sun, hitting the Earth right now as we speak. Why do I know it? I was looking on my television today. Then I turned on my radio. I heard crackling on the radio. When I had the TV on, it was interrupted all the time. The television signals were interrupted by the radiation, the plasma radiation coming in from the sun. Yes, we have cosmic radiation too. We have electromagnetic radiation occurring as a result of the planetary alignments. We have all of that. Then we also have plate tectonic coming into the question as well. Plate tectonic movement. It's all coming to a head. That's why we're seeing this. Okay? It's not just one thing, it's multiple things. We knew we were going to see this. 6.0 earthquakes are happening still. We've had mostly 5s today. We got lucky. Yesterday we had 6s and 5s. The day before that we had multiple 6s. This is going to continue happening for a while. The 5-planet alignment goes, I believe, until Thursday this week. Okay? This is an ongoing issue, guys. This is an ongoing issue. Okay, I've shown you Arkansas. Let me show you Missouri. Okay? I've shown you Arkansas. I've shown you Louisiana. Let's go over show you Guam, Missouri. Look at this. This is Guam, Missouri this afternoon. Again, this is the center of the new Madrid. We're still seeing that same seismic sequence that we had before in the other towns, on the other seismograms. The long sequenced seismic events, lasting minutes, not just 1 or 2, multiple minutes. Also the larger earthquakes, not just tremors, but earthquakes. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down here after 5 a.m. this morning. Okay, we go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes after 5. Okay, that's a 2.2 earthquake. But how long does this thing last? It started for 2.5 minutes before the primary quake. And it continued. It continued, guys. It continued for nearly 2.5 minutes before it fully died out. The secondary quake, the secondary wave. Look at all these other earthquakes here. Down here at the bottom after 11 o'clock this morning. It started off at 11:01 with just minor tremor activity. 1.2, 1.3 maybe. It built up, didn't it? Well, guess what happened after that? All of a sudden, the seismic energy was off, all over. It was bouncing around. I think this was probably close to a 3.0 earthquake, but the seismic activity itself, how long did it last? 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes. 4 full minutes of seismic activity. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Let's go north. How about up into Indiana and Illinois? Let's look quickly at Indiana and Illinois. Okay? Let's go over to Evansville, Indiana for starters. Okay? This is nothing more than tremor activity here this morning in Indiana. Yes, we had some 1.2s, maybe 1.3s early this morning after midnight. But those kind of died off until later this morning, 6 and 7 o'clock this morning. Then it really started, and it was almost continuous. Not quite, but almost. Okay? That's Evansville this morning. Let's look at Evansville this afternoon. Look at this. The same thing going on here. Constant shaking. Minor shaking, very minor tremor shaking, but it's still constant. Let's go over to Illinois. Okay? Oh, let's see. Where are we going here? Let's go over to Fairfield, Illinois this morning. Okay? There's a couple other places here in Illinois we could go to, but this is another good example. Okay? The main part of the shaking did not start until about 4 a.m. this morning. Before that, it was hit and miss. Then after 4 a.m., it really got going, didn't it? By 11 o'clock this morning, 11:30, 11:45, look at that. These are mostly tremors, although there's probably at least 2.0 magnitude earthquakes. Two of them. One of them at 10 a.m. Another about 4 minutes later. Okay? Constant shaking. Okay? This is in Illinois. Fairfield, Illinois. This is this afternoon. It's just as bad. In this case, there were 2.0s and 2.4s here. Not large, not small. These are just minor quakes and tremors. But they're happening all over, constantly, just about every 2 minutes, max. That's a lot of earthquake activity in Illinois. Okay? I showed you Evansville, Indiana. I showed you Fairfield, Illinois. It's happening everywhere, north and south. North and south. I told you that the East Coast was being pushed by the Atlantic Plate. North Carolina especially, Virginia especially, Georgia, South Carolina getting pushed. Seismic activity up and down the East Coast. Okay? It's happening, guys, and it's happening every day. Look at Savannah, Georgia. Look at this. That is continuous shaking in Savannah, Georgia. This is no longer a joke. I am surprised that the United States Geological Survey isn't issuing some kind of earthquake advisory both on the East Coast, over here along the New Madrid, north and south, and even an earthquake advisory over on the West Coast as well. We know for a fact from what I showed you last night in Southern California, there's a larger earthquake going to happen there as well. It's a matter of time, ladies and gentlemen. Does everyone see this here? Menacing Muskrat is asking me, was Emanuel Filovsky correct in his theories? I don't know. I've never heard the name. Call me. Let's talk about it. I would love to hear your voice again. I would love to talk to you about it. I have never heard that name. I will look it up. I will definitely look it up. Victor says, I like Carl Sagan. I did too. He was an astronomer. But Carl Sagan had it right too. Okay? He saw what was going on as well. He was not just an astronomer. He was a gifted man. who knew what was going on. He could see it in the future. He told us what was going to happen. He wrote books on it. He knew what he was talking about. Okay? Linda Covington said Space Force AL downloaded the app and put down a down payment. I'm on the waiting list for a zip code. Great, let me know. I would love to know what you find out. Yeah, he wrote that book called Cosmos. Thanks, Victor, I appreciate that. I forgot what it was called. Yes, Cosmos. Great book, I used to have it. I read it 2 or 3 times. Folks, this is what's going on the New Madrid fault. Nobody can any longer say it's not going to happen. It is happening. It's happening now. The buildup of seismic energy on these faults is real. I've showed it to you last night on the West Coast. I've showed it to you this afternoon at New Madrid. I picked up the information about the East Coast earlier today. We don't have any more time to look at the East Coast. The East Coast is not as bad, but the East Coast is having 2.5 earthquakes as well on the East Coast. Virginia and North Carolina and South Carolina, Sumter, South Carolina, remember what that's east of? Okay? Remember those earthquakes that hit just west of Sumter a few months back last year? Guess what? It's hitting again. I've got the data to back that up. The entire East Coast is getting pushed, causing that tremendous push on the New Madrid, and the West Coast is getting pushed, and the New Madrid is getting hammered on the west. It's huge, guys. There's even earthquakes in eastern Texas, Pleasanton, Texas, Nacogdoches, Texas. It's getting hit. Guys, you can't make it up. This is real. Yeah, Victor says he joked about that little green man. Yeah, I know. That's unreal. Anyway, guys, I want to say thank you for being here. Okay, we have 685 subscribers to this program. We now have 118 people still watching us. We had over 130 earlier. I appreciate that, guys. Does anybody have any questions before we end this program tonight? Any questions? I want to take some questions here. Does anybody have questions? Roxy, happy birthday. I just saw Roxy here. Thank you. Happy birthday. Sage Pup, I want to welcome Sage Pup to the program. He got on, I guess he got on his phone, was able to get through. Thank you, Sage Pup. I appreciate you, brother. Sage Pup is a very dear friend. I appreciate all of you guys. Rob's here too. I appreciate Rob, a very good friend of mine too. Thank you all for being here. Sage Pup, he says, sorry I'm late, I just finished work. I can appreciate that, brother. Been there, done that. Anyway, guys, I have a scripture for you tonight, as I most always do. Okay? I want to go over to one of my favorite scriptures here. This comes in Romans chapter 1, verse 16. This is by far one of my best scriptures I could find in my life. I first saw this way back in the 70s. This is a great scripture. Romans 1:16. This is my favorite. Maybe you guys can make note of this for yourselves. Okay? This is Romans 1:16. For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first and also to the Greek. Everyone that believeth. Everyone that believeth, guys. Isn't that such a beautiful promise? Jesus Christ is here for us. I hope you will take advantage of His grace, His love for each one of us. Love one another, Christ is the way, Isaiah 55, verse 7. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts, and let him return unto the Lord, and he will take mercy upon him, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. Absolutely. Folks, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for being here with us. We appreciate each one of us, each one of you that are here. Demon Catman from the eastern part of England, welcome here, brother. I appreciate you. He's been here for the entire program. I saw him coming in when we were starting out the program this evening. God bless you all. Thank you all for being here. I love each and every one of you. May God bless you and keep you. I want to thank all of you and our mod squad as well. The best mod squad in the business, literally. Now, folks, as we leave here today, make sure your seat belts and tables are put in the upright M-set position. Okay? Make sure everything is set. Okay? Make sure your stewardesses and stewards are returned to their feet. I hope you have a great night and a better tomorrow. God be with you till we meet again. We will see you on the other side. See you tomorrow night. If anything else happens, tonight we'll be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information presents itself. Good night, everybody. Much love. I love each and every one of you. See you around the corner. Good night.